Okay, I would like to welcome all of you to Hack It Bootcamp, which will be a cybersecurity training for beginners. We're hoping all of you who are in the room have been registered for the bootcamp and you are ready to learn from various people who are, we can call them giant on the cybersecurity, who have already been doing a lot, and they could guide you from beginning steps to somewhere else where you can be able to learn for yourself or to do things for yourself. This bootcamp has been prepared by Hackett, who is the main organizer, but he doesn't prepare it for himself. He has other supporters, which are partner like UrchinSec, SheHacks KE, HackerSploit, and CyberGirls Tanzania. I would like to welcome Mr. Karim for a short welcome note.
Thank you. Hi, everybody. I hope you're all good. So my name is Karim. I think majority of you have met me during some interaction on the internet and other places. So we came up with this idea with the intention of helping in the capacity building in Tanzania so that everybody can have the opportunity to learn about cybersecurity and the ins and outs of cybersecurity and what it entails. So me and the team, we sat down and came up with this schedule in general and different topics that are on demand currently on the market. And the aim or the essence of doing that is for people who don't have the ability and capability to go out there and pay for certifications to be able and still learn about cybersecurity and gain the skills. So in turn, what this is going to do is help to increase the number of cybersecurity experts in Tanzania at large. So that was the main goal of doing this bootcamp. And it's going to be hosted every year so that we can have more and more participants learning about different cybersecurity topics. So perhaps maybe next time it's going to be at an advanced level rather than the introductory bit that we're doing right now. And the goal is to see how best we can help you guys to kick off in this wonderful career of cybersecurity. So during the preparation, we managed to partner up with the 4 partners that you can see on your screen. We managed to come together and agree on how we are going to take this bootcamp on our way forward. So that's the general introduction about the bootcamp itself and what is the aim of this bootcamp. Apart from that, let me just share this. So these are going to be your instructors for the next 3 months, where they're going to be taking you through different cybersecurity topics. So today we are going to have Mr. Enock, who I believe is in the room. He's going to take you through the introductory bit, and then the other cybersecurity experts are going to be there in different occasions to take over after Mr. Enock on today's session. This session is going to be recorded, or no, it is being recorded, and we believe that you guys are going to be able to follow up and get a recap on the areas rather where you guys didn't understand, so that you can keep on learning and improving from this bootcamp. So it is my hope that you guys are going to gain as much experience and skills from this bootcamp, simply because the instructors themselves that you're seeing on your screen are guys who are pioneers in cybersecurity, are guys who are very good in the industry and have a lot of experience on their belt. So guys, please try your level best to take advantage of this bootcamp. Try your level best to leverage on the instructors, ask them as much questions as you can, so that you guys are able to learn from them or even be better than them. Because once you guys become even better than the instructors, then it's a plus for us, because we're going to help the country to protect from cyber criminals and cyber crimes and cyber threats in general. So I just want to wish you guys all the best in this bootcamp. And I'll see you guys at the end of the event, where you guys are going to have a CTF competition and test on your skills that you will have managed to learn on the 3 months bootcamp. So guys, all the best, and I wish you a happy learning experience in this bootcamp. Thank you. Amina, back to you.
Okay, thank you, Karim. We appreciate for the great welcome note you gave us. And I hope all of the participants are happy. And I can even see on chat some people have started seeing the light. Okay, it's allowed to speak in Swahili. So if you have any question, don't hesitate to speak in Swahili or to write in Swahili. We could do a mixing. We can speak Swahili and English both, or you can speak in any language which will be okay with you to speak. Okay. Going forward, I would like to welcome one of our partner, who is HackerSploit. I can see Ta, he's already on the room. Mr. Ta, welcome. Can you please give us a short explanation or a short introduction of yourself and the topic you're going to cover, or anything which will be useful for all of us? Taha Farouk.
I guess it's not available, so I think we can check the other partners if they're in.
Okay. Oh, okay. Okay. Okay, Ta, welcome.
Yeah, thanks. Hope everyone is doing fine. Yeah, so you guys had muted me for a second, so that's why I wasn't able to speak. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. My apologies.
Yeah, it's okay. So yeah, my name is Taha Farouk. I am the leading founder of UrchinSec, which is a community for cybersecurity enthusiasts and developers as well. So as both of you has explained, Amina and Karim, about what this bootcamp is all about, and I think UrchinSec, we are proud to be supporting partners to this whole bootcamp thing, and we are looking for a great cooperation with all the participants who have been able to be selected as the top 100s to participate in this bootcamp. So overall, see you in my session. Yeah, thank you.
Okay, thank you, Ta Farouk. That is a partner from HackerSploit. We appreciate. Okay, then going forward, Karim, can you check if CyberGirl TZ has already in the room? I couldn't recognize her name on the Zoom.
No, she's not in the session. So I guess we can just move forward and hand it over to the today's instructor, so that we can get started. And because I see people are very excited in here. So yeah.
Okay. Since you're going to, we hand over the session to our instructor, I would like to ask you for all the participants, if you have any question, kindly, you can just put it on the chat, or you can just raise your hands in case of any question if you want to ask it by yourself. Don't feel shy, just be comfortable as you can. This is just a room and all people in the room are very interactive. Don't hesitate to ask any question. Karibuni. Okay. Instructor, the first instructor, I would like to start with Enoch. Enoch, welcome. Can you please talk with our beginners in the cybersec? Or we can call them our future expertise of the cybersec. Enoch.
Uh,
You have been muted.
yeah, I think now you can hear me.
Yes, we can hear you. Welcome, Enoch.
Good evening, everybody.
Good evening.
Yeah, today I'll be your instructor on a topic about networking and a little bit of network security. Yeah, I think I don't have a lot to say. We can just jump immediately to our session because we are a little bit behind of time. So I will start by sharing my screen.
Already the co-host, so you can share.
You. And also, Enoch, while you are preparing to share your screen, can you give us an highlight of what will be covered during this bootcamp? We know that the bootcamp will be for 3 months as long. Can you give us the highlight? What will you cover? And what will be the benefit of this student or people who are interested with the cyber industry? What will be the advantage? What will they get from that session? Thank you.
Okay. First of all, in order to be effective in cybersecurity industry, there are different kinds of knowledges that you need to cover, especially on the parts of programming, things like to understand the operating system better, either it's a Windows operating system or it's a Linux operating system, because these are systems that you are going to be hacking. Also, it's better to understand the technologies that are being used in the industry, especially because you are trying to hack the organizations, but the organization are not just sitting there waiting for you to hack them. They have implemented certain preventive measures to prevent you from to be able to hack them. So what I always tell my students is you can't hack what you don't understand. You can't hack what you don't know or what you can't understand. So in order to be a better or a good hacker, you have to have a broad kind of knowledge that covers almost a bit of everything, because some people are used to a saying of a master of all, a jack of all trades. A saying like a jack of all trades is a master of none. But that saying is, I always say, it's not a complete saying, sorry. Sorry for the interruption. I was saying about a saying of, some people are used to a saying of a jack of all trades is a master of none, but that is not a complete saying. They just don't finish that saying, because the complete saying goes by a jack of all trades is a master of none, but oftentimes he is better than the master of one. So if your mind allows you to learn almost to learn a bit of everything, just do it. Don't limit yourself, because when you do limit yourself, you find that the scope of engagements they do vary, because we are currently living in a very complex world. That the technologies are evolving each and every day. So if you don't learn as much as you can, you just focus on on a specific thing, because this is specific thing doesn't stand on its own. These things, they just like, they depend on each other. They are complementary. So what I'll be covering today about network, how will it help you to become a better hacker? Because when you get into hacking, especially the real hacking, you'll be given a scope. So in order to better understand your scope, fundamental concepts of networking is mandatory, so that you don't hack what you are not permitted to if you are hacking ethically. Because most of us, I think the aim of learning cybersecurity, if you are able to be a hacker, it means that you do hack ethically. When I say you hack ethically, it means you hack without permission. So how will you know what things you are permitted to touch and which things you are not permitted to if you don't understand your scope? Because the scope will be given to you in terms of network terms. Attack this IP, attack this IP, don't attack this IP, don't attack this IP. So you have to understand this IP starts from here, it ends from here. So that would be the benefits of today's session. It will enable you to become an effective pen tester, a hacker, or if you'll be into defensive cybersecurity. It means you'll be a good blue teamer. I think I've tried to share. I think that's enough. We can just proceed with a lesson. Today, I'm going to cover about to talk about IP addresses, MAC addresses, TCP and UDP, common ports and protocols, the website model, and subnetting. This is kind of like a refresher, because I think some of us are already familiar. With these terms, what this term entails. Or if you have already been in IT, you must have encountered an IP address or a MAC address for sure. First, let me bring my terminal so that I can try to explain. So if you're using Windows, the command is ipconfig, and if you're using Linux, the command is ifconfig. I hope you can see clearly the text on my screen. If you can't, just drop it on chat so that I can try and maximize it a little bit. So for devices on a network to be able to talk to each other, they do require.
Sorry, Enock.
Hey.
Sorry for the interference.
Yes.
Could you please share the screen with us? Because some people are asking for the screen to be shared because they're not, they cannot see anything. Yeah.
Sorry. I didn't. I forgot to share. Now, can you see my screen?
Yes. Now can be seen.
Yeah. Sorry, I thought that I've already shared.
It's okay.
Okay. As I've said earlier, the command for those people who are used to Windows operating system, the command is ipconfig, and for Linux, the command is ifconfig. As you can see, we have these outputs here of inet. This is what we call an IP address. And this is what enables devices in a network to be able to communicate to each other. So if you are connected right now, we are using Zoom. Hopefully you are connected to the internet. I'm pretty sure that you have an IP address. That's why you were able to access the meeting. So this is what enables devices. So we have two different kinds of IP addresses. We have what we call an IP version 4, and we have what we call an IP version 6. And notation for IP version 4 is decimal notation, and the notation for IP version 6 is an hexadecimal notation. When I say decimal notation, these are numbers that were used to like 0 up to 10. But when I say hexadecimal notation, you'll find that these are numbers that has a bit mix of characters like A, B, C, D, and E. That's a hexadecimal notation. As you can see here, this is INET, and this is INET 6. Do you see the representation of these two addresses? Remember, this is an IP address, and this is also an IP addresses. But it is in decimal notation, and here it is in hexadecimal notation. This is what we call an IP version 6, and this is what we call an IP version 4. This one, we will touch it a little bit later in our session, but this is what we call a subnet mask, if you've ever heard of it, or a net mask. It's called a net mask or a subnet mask. We'll cover that on the subnetting part of our lesson. So let's just focus on this. So we have, I'll say that there are two kinds of IP version 4 and IP version 6, but most of the time we often use the IP version 4 because even if you decide to view the IP address of your phone or the IP address of your computer, you find that it is an IP version 4 and not an IP version 6. And realistically, behind the scene, here you are just seeing that these are numbers, but the computer doesn't understand numbers. The computer understands what we call binary. When I say binary, it's just a mathematical representation of either 0 or 1. It means binary from the binary. It means two states, either off or on. So that's what the computer understands. So realistically, you are just seeing the number here, but behind the scene, it is like 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1. Yeah, a group of 80. Then 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1. Something similar like this behind the scene. But you are seeing this because this is a human readable form, but the computer only understands it in the form of 111 or 110 and etc. So this is what we call the first octet. This is a second octet. This is a third and fourth octet. When I'm saying octets, I mean group of 8. So here we are using 8 bits to represent this number, also 8 bits to represent this number, also 8 bits to represent this number, and so on. So in total, we have 32 bits for representing an IP addresses. When I look into my calculator here, you can see that an IP address consists of 32 bits. when I take 2 to the power of 32, you get that we almost have 4 billion IP addresses that we can use because of the representation of an IP address, IP version 4 address. It just uses version, it just uses 32 bits for its representation. So you may ask yourself, nowadays we have smartphones, even the total population of humans, I think nowadays it exceeds this number. So plus you might have, right now you have a smart TV, you have a phone, you have a computer. All this requires an IP addresses. So what has prevented these IP addresses from being depleted? So to prevent these IPs from being depleted, they invented something called network address translation. Because in the early days of the internet, when the internet was just being discovered, and IP version 4 was standardized as a protocol for this device to communicate, people started buying these IPs. And when these people bought these IP addresses, nowadays, all of these IP addresses have been bought. And these IP addresses are nowadays leased to to an entity known as internet service providers. So internet service provider, they just lease you an IP addresses, and that IP address you can use that IP to browse the internet. They do not offer new addresses because those addresses have already been bought. So technologies like NAT, they have helped to conserve these IP addresses. That's why you may find that we have more than 4 billion devices and we are still able to communicate using IP version 4 because of network address translation. So IP address is what we call a layer 3. Please bear with me. I'll just mention this layers, and you will understand me clearly when we cover the OSI models. So IP addresses, I'm saying it's a layer 3 protocol so that you can just get familiar with the OSI model, but we will cover it in more detail later in this session. So being a layer 3, it means that it is routed. It is used to route the packets across the internet from one node to another, because as you are all aware that internet is just an interconnection of devices. So how are devices able to move from one device to another device to millions of devices? It's because the IP addresses is the routed address. It means it's just like I can just relate it to like us human beings, the way we talk. I just need you just need somebody's number in order for you to call him. So in terms of network, instead of a number, we just have the IP addresses to route the packets from one device to another device until it reaches an intended recipient or the final destination. So that is all that I have to cover regarding IP addresses. Also, before I forget, we can just come here, because most probably the IP addresses that you will find on your devices starts with 192.168. Or sometimes you can find just it starts with a 10. Or sometimes you find that it starts with 172.16 up to 34. Because these are what we call private IP addresses. You can just, even if you Google them here, you can just see when I say like private IP addresses. I'm trying to find a proper picture here. As you can see, the IP addresses of this nature are the ones that you will find assigned to the devices. You can't assign an IP addresses that to your device that is out of this range. I mean, for class A, they start with just any IP address that starts with .10. It's a private address, but of class A. Also, 172.16 up to 172.31. These are private addresses. So why do we have different classes? Because of the different needs of the network. If you have a huge network that requires a large number of users or devices to connect to that network, you will go for a class A, because it covers almost this number, which is a huge number, compared to when you have a small network, especially, it doesn't make sense, for example, you set up your own network at home and to use a class A IP addresses, because this is just a wastage of IP address. You won't be able to use all of these IPs. That's why oftentimes you'll find for your own network or in your phone or your PC, you most probably find the IP address of class C, because it only has 254 hosts. This is called a loopback because it is used mostly for troubleshooting and for the device to refer to itself. And for instance, when you want to call yourself, you are using these loopback IP addresses. It always, the loopback address, it must be in this range of 127.0.0.0, but most of the time you will find that the loopback address that you are assigned is 127.0.0.1. Even if I come and look at my device, you can see that my loopback address is here for IP version 4. For IP version 6, the notation is like this. But for IP version 4, the loopback address is this. Most of the devices, they assign the loopback of .1. So now let us move on to MAC addresses. MAC address stands for Media Access Control, which is like your fingerprint, because nobody else in the world shares the same fingerprint that you have. It's same applies to devices. This is a unique identifier that uniquely identifies a device in the network. You can see here, my MAC address is this, ether. This is my MAC address. This is what uniquely identifies this device across the world. It means that no other device has these IP addresses. And this IP, MAC addresses. And these MAC addresses can never be changed, but it can be faked. It can't be changed, but it can be faked, because this one can be faked in a process known as MAC spoofing or ARP spoofing attack. Because and that it's usually useful because I often use MAC spoofing when I try to bypass some of the controls like network access control. I always use MAC spoofing attacks. But when I use those kinds of attack, it doesn't mean that my IP address is being changed. No, it can never change. But you are just faking another device's MAC address. You are pretending to be, it's like you can't change who you are, but you can pretend to be somebody else. Same applies to MAC addresses. So you can find that the representation of this is 48, it is represented by 48 bytes. In groups of two, it means that we have 6 sections. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. The first 3 sections from here to here, these are what we call an organizational unique identifier, or UI. Since I'm running my machine on VMware, probably when I look up this MAC address, it will say that this MAC address belongs to the manufacturer of VMware. VMware is the one who manufactured this card, because this MAC address, as I have mentioned earlier, is a media access control. Another name for it is called burned-in address, because it is burnt into the card from the manufacturer. So when we do MAC address lookup, let us try to do a MAC. When we do a MAC address lookup, you will find that the organizational unique identifier, like I've told you, it's this first three octets. And these are from vendor name is VMware. So if you are using an Intel PC and you input your MAC address here, you will see that it belongs to Intel or AMD or HP or Dell, because these are the great manufacturers of networking devices worldwide. So it can either be a Cisco device. You'll find that the vendor name is named Cisco, or Huawei. It's because of the first 3 sections of the MAC address. So MAC address is commonly referred to as a layer 2 protocol. Meaning, and most, as I've said, IP is routed protocol, but this one, MAC address, is a switching protocol. So only a layer 2 device can understand how to forward these addresses. And a layer 2 device that I'm talking about is a switch. Some of us may already be familiar with what a switch is. So the purpose of the switch is to switch frames from between devices. Let's say that you have 5 PC locally in your room, and you want to connect this PC. So you probably need a central point of connecting all those PC. And that central point of connecting all these PCs, most likely it will be a switch. Nowadays, in the very, very, very old days, in ancient times, people used to have what we call a hub. But nowadays, you can't find a hub. Always, you connect these devices using what we call a switch. So there is a protocol called ARP, and this protocol is used to map IP addresses to MAC address, because for a device to connect, to be able to communicate in the network, it must have these two protocols. One, the IP address protocol, and second is the MAC address protocol. So the mapping, this IP belongs to which device, and this device, we don't, and in networks, we don't identify devices perhaps based on this is an HP, or this is a Dell, or this is a printer. No, we are just looking at the MAC address, because MAC address is a unique identifier. So this MAC address needs to be mapped to a certain IP addresses. And ARP is a protocol that does the mapping. Now let's talk a little bit about TCP and UDP protocol. TCP and UDP protocols, these are layer 4. As I've told you earlier, you clearly get the picture of why am I saying this is layer 4, why am I saying this is layer 3, why am I saying this is layer 2. You will clearly understand this when we cover about the OSI model. So TCP is what we call a connection-oriented protocol. In order to transmit your data using TCP, all of these are transmission protocol, TCP and UDP. But in order for you to transmit data using TCP, it means you have to establish what we call a 3-way handshake. A 3-way handshake stands like this. This applies to even us human beings. You can just start talking to somebody without that somebody responding to you first. First, you say hello, then that person will hello back, and then you will start your conversation. Like when somebody say mambo, you are supposed to say poa, and then you can start to communicate, because you can't just say mambo and that person stays silent. You can't know for sure if that somebody is listening to you, he's focused on you, or he's just busy with some stuff. That's why you can't just talk to people randomly without first establishing the connection. Same applies to this TCP. For TCP transmission to complete, the first message is a SYN message. It's like the SYN message is like a hello. Then the second message is a SheHacks. It's like hello back. Then we start to transmit after receiving the HackerSploit packet. So this is what we call a three-way handshake. In order to establish a three-way handshake, first the first packet to be sent is a SYN packet. The second is a SheHacks packet, and the third one is an HackerSploit packet. This will be helpful for you. This is so much important to understand, because when you start using tools like Nmap, like when you are scanning your services, you have to understand what these flags mean. Because if I don't receive an hack, it means there is something else in the network. These are used to indicate whether the port is open or the port is closed. And port stand for services that are running on a particular devices. So in order for you to be able to determine which kind of services are running on that on that specific device before you even start to hack it, because you can't hack something that is not running anything. Then why are you even hacking it in the first place? It has to run some services, and those services, they will draw your attention so that you can, that can be the motive for you to start to hack. So in order to understand which kind of services are running, most of the time we rely on these three packets. And I can just, if we get lucky, I can just demonstrate how that actually happens using a network sniffing tool like Wireshark. Now I'm sniffing the traffic. I'm going to open a site like yahoo.com. You can see that there are a lot of traffic. There are a lot of traffic. I just wanted to see if I can get lucky. The gray ones, do you see? The gray ones are what we call the SheHacks and the HackerSploit packets. As you can see here, this host of this IP 198.142 is establishing a connection to 58.84.102.37. It is sending a SYN packet. Then you can see that here you are getting a SheHacks packet. But the acknowledgement packet is like in the mix here. We can just we can clearly see because there are a lot of traffic has been sent. But this actually the basic of what is happening is firstly the host that is initiating the communication send the synchronization message, then the host to which you are connecting to sends back the SheHacks message, and finally you send the HackerSploit message and you start communicating. So as I've told you, very, very, very important to understand it. The likes of protocol that you use that uses TCP is like when you are using, for instance, WhatsApp call, you may find that sometimes that voice like it is stuttering. that there are breaking, the voice breaks, you can't hear that person clearly. It's because of your network is unstable. Some of the packets are being dropped. But why are you still hearing some contents, some parts of the message? That's because the voice over internet, they just use a protocol called UDP. UDP, it just sends the packet without considering the other end to which those packets are being received, whether that host is it's alive or it's dead. It just sends those messages without checking if there is any error in the packets. But TCP, it does error checking, and when it needs to, it does what we call error correction. This is being done to ensure that you reliably transmit the data. So TCP, I can say it is a reliable connection. UDP is an reliable connection because UDP is a connectionless oriented protocol, while TCP is a connection oriented protocol. For example, if you are browsing an email, you are using TCP. That's why you are able to, you either get the entire mail or you don't get the email at all. For example, when you are browsing a web page, you either get the web page or you don't get the web page at all, because the web page and the email, they use what we call a TCP protocol. But for instance, in YouTube, when you are streaming the video, if your network is poor, you may get bits of the video. You still get the video, but in bits, because it is using what we call a UDP protocol. So since UDP does not check for errors, or it doesn't check for things like fault control, it means UDP is always faster than TCP. But the only disadvantage to UDP is that it is not reliable as TCP. So common ports and protocol. So if you become a pen tester, to understand the common protocol and ports, it's very relevant, because when you just see that a certain port is open, immediately you know which service is running behind the scene. I don't expect you to memorize all these common ports and protocols today. You can just I've just mentioned this just for you to be familiar with these common ports and protocols, because if you are working in cybersecurity industries, you will encounter these protocols more often. For example, we have the FTP protocol, which always, it runs on port 21, but the network administrator may change it to run on a different port. But oftentimes administrators are lazy. They will just let it run on the standard ports or on the what we call common ports. But not always that they are lazy, but because of things like compatibility issues, they just leave them on the standards. They just let them run on common ports. So FTP, this is a file transfer protocol. It is the protocol that is used to transfer files between different network devices. And this SSH secure shell, this is used for remote access. When you want to access a network device remotely, you will always use what we call SSH. Also, we have Telnet. Telnet is also a remote access device. It is also used to access devices remotely. The only difference between SSH and Telnet is SSH is a secure protocol, but Telnet is an insecure protocol. It transmits data in clear text. So oftentimes, when I find that the network is running Telnet services, what I always do, because most of the time I can't get the password of this Telnet password, so I do some other kind of attacks like DNS spoofing or DHCP spoofing or ARP spoofing, so that I can see the traffic of the entire network. So when an administrator tries to access a device using this Telnet protocol, I can intercept his credentials because the credentials are being sent in clear text. So when I obtain those credentials, because they are in clear text, I don't need to crack them. I just capture those and log into the devices. You never know what I will find in that device. So it can be something relevant, or you can cause, as a hacker, you can do almost anything after you have access to a device. Also, we have what we call SMTP protocol, which runs on port 25. This SMTP protocol is a simple mail transfer protocol. It's the protocol that makes emails run. To transfer emails from your computer to another computer, always the protocol that is being used is SMTP. Also, we have what we call a DNS, domain name system. This is a protocol that is used to map IP addresses to domain name, because most of the time, most of you are used to type things like google.com, but the computer, as I've said, the computer doesn't understand google.com. This is for your, just for your convenience. The computer only understands an IP address. So what DNS does is when you type google.com, like here, I've typed yahoo.com, but behind the scene, my DNS captured this name and it translates it to an IP address. Because when I try like ping yahoo.com, you can see that the DNS server took this name of yahoo.com and it did the translation. It mapped this domain name to an IP address. It did the mapping. So most of the time, it is easier to remember yahoo.com compared to remember the 74.6.143.2026. So DNS was designed just for convenience to us human beings, to translate these IP addresses to domain names and domain names to IP addresses. This is what we call a domain name. Or when you use it in a browser, it becomes a URL. So even this URL is being translated to a respective IP addresses using what we call DNS service. So you can see I've mentioned DNS under TCP section, also under UDP section. Why have I done this? Actually, normally this is what does the translation. When you find that this port is open, probably this DNS, there are two DNS servers in the network, and you are doing the transfer of records from one server to another server. Most of the time, we just use we will use the TCP TCP port 53. But when you are just doing a normal address translation, you just use a TCP port of 53. Though they both achieve the same thing, but they were designed for different purposes. That's why when I always find that DNS server is running on TCP port 53, what I try first is to do a zone transfer. But when I find DNS is running on UDP port 53, I don't even bother doing a zone transfer. Oftentimes when I find it is running on this. And when I say zone transfer, it means that I'm transferring all the DNS records to my computer. That's a zone transfer. Or you are transferring DNS records from one DNS server to another DNS server or to our own computer. That's what we call a zone transfer. Also, we have HTTP. This is what most of us are familiar with. HTTP runs on two types of ports, port 8 and 443. This is just used for accessing websites. But the only difference between these two ports is 443 is used for secure web access. But this HTTP that is running on port 80, it is used for insecure port access. This POP3 and IMAP, these are used for what we call like mail clients, like Outlook, Gmail. Those are what we call mail clients. They are using this protocol POP3 and IMAP 143. Also, we have a server message block, SMB, but in Linux, we call it Samba. In other operating systems, it's just a server message block SMB. This is used to share files also in Active Directory environment. They just often use this port. The 139 port is an older port, and 445 is a newer port, because by the time they were inventing SMB, DNS was not that popular. They were using a protocol called NetBIOS lookup. But when DNS became popular, they just migrated the protocol or modified to run on port 453, because at that time the translation was not once again done by NetBIOS, it was done by DNS. So on UDP, these are the ports that you will find. DHCP, TFTP. TFTP is similar to FTP, but this one is just sends fewer packets to establish a connection compared to FTP. That's why it's called a trivial file transfer protocol. SNMP is for device management, for managing what? For managing devices. Why I've mentioned these common ports and protocols? Because as a pen tester or as a hacker, most of the time you will be scanning services. So after scanning those services are running on these ports. So when you see port 8 is open, immediately you understand that this is a HTTP is running. So probably this device is a web server. Or when you see port 25 is open, immediately you understand that, oh, this might be a mail server. So that's the use of being familiar with these common ports and protocols. Also, let's cover a little bit of what we call the OSI model. This is just a conceptual model to help you understand how data is being transmitted in the network, and it is hierarchical in nature. It means that each layer sits on top of the other layer. It's probably helpful to memorize this because even though you are not doing networks, some people will just throw these terms of OSL or OSI layer at you, and you might not understand. Perhaps you are going to seek information to you are doing pen test to a client, and you're going to seek information from them. Most of the time, there are people that will give you information. They just give you information in terms like, this is layer 2, this is layer 3, and so forth. So if you don't understand what this layer stands for, you'll be left hanging there. So what I do to memorize all these 7 layers is by using a mnemonic called I always use a mnemonic called please do not throw sausage pizza away. So this is a mnemonic that I used when I was learning. I was trying to learn about the OSI model. So if you have one of your own, you can just post it in the chat. So please, this is a physical layer. When I say the physical layer, it means I'm talking about the cables and things like that. The cables that connects and the electrical signal, because these are just electrical signals, and these electrical signals passes through those cables. So I'm talking about the cables. I'm talking about RJ45. RJ45 is just a connector. Hope everyone is familiar with network cables. So those cables belong to what we call a physical layer. Also, D is for data link. Data link, what layer? Here is where the things like the switching, frames, you hear things like that on the data link layer. Also, we have what we call the network layer. Here we're talking about routing data. This is for our transport layer. Here we are talking about the protocols like TCP, IP, UDP. Here we have things like IP. Here we have these frames. Also here we have a session layer for managing session. For session management. When I say session management, this is the area that's responsible for either you've connected or you've disconnected. This is for session management. This is a presentation layer. Things like JPEGs, PNG, PDFs on the HTTP. Also, we have what we call application layer. Things like SMTP, Firefox, Chrome. They all reside in the application layer. So when you want to send some data, most of the time you start by opening your browser, meaning that you start by going to the application layer, opening the browser like Firefox, Google Chrome, you type your URL. That URL goes to the presentation layer in either HTTP or HTTPS format. Then this one is for just establishing a session to the server that you are connecting to. And this TCP and UDP, oftentimes HTTP will be transmitted using the TCP protocol. Then after this, you will be adding what we call an IP to the data that you first started to send using the Firefox. Then you will add the MAC addresses. Then you will encode it to electrical signal ready for transmission. So when the other end receives the connection, it starts in vice versa, meaning that it first receives those electrical signal, then doing what we call decapsulation. Yeah, inside those electrical signal, it will find the first thing to find is the data link layer, meaning it will look on the MAC address. After it looks into the MAC address, then it goes to IP, then TCP, then session, then presentation, application. Here is where you are able to view that message. So it goes through this layer in vice versa when you are receiving and when you are sending. They just the opposite of each other. Why is this helpful? This is helpful in troubleshooting different network problems, because you may be given access to the network, because let's say you want to hack. You have connected, but you are not getting any access to the device that you intend to reach. You are not reaching the devices that you intend to. So the first thing to ask yourself, you ask, am I connected? Am I connected wirelessly? Or am I connected physically using a cable? So you will start with investigating the physical layer. So you see if you have a proper cable, or the cable is plugged in properly. After that, you just check to see, is my IP address okay? Or
Sorry for the interruption, Mr. Enock.
Yes.
Our time was almost up. I would like to give you 4 minutes to summarize and 5 minutes for question and answers, because we are having some questions on the chat room.
Yeah, okay,
it will be wisely for you summarize for 5 minutes. 2 to 3 minutes. Okay. Then for the remaining 5 minutes, we could go for the question and answers.
Yeah, sure.
Okay, so, thank you.
This is very helpful when you are doing what we call troubleshooting. Okay, subnetting. This one I will not cover, but I can just give you a reference on where it is covered more deeply, because actually this is pretty frustrating if you are a beginner. There is a thing called subnetting, means that we are dividing a network into smaller networks or subnetworks. It doesn't make sense. Perhaps you are saying that you are using a class C. The class C, as we have already seen, it covers a range of 254 hosts. And let's say you just have 16 devices on your network. It doesn't make sense to use the host of 254 while you just have 16 devices. So what you need to do is you cut those 254 devices hosted to 16. And how we do that is by using what we call a base. As you can see here, when all of these bits have been turned on, I will try to leave as much space as possible. This one equals to 255. But let's say when I remove this bit, it means that it won't be 255. For easier demonstration, let's say that I remove this and turn it to 0. It means that this one does not become 255, it becomes 254. Let's say, for instance, that I turn all this off like this. This one does not mean it means it equals to 254. It means it equals to, this has been turned on 842, which equals 14. So that's a secret behind subnetting. You have to understand that since an IP address is a IP version 4 is a 32-bit representation, you have to convert that to what we call hexa base 2 or binary notation. Which since each section contains groups of 80, 2 power 7 is 256, I think, if I'm not mistaken, starting when you start counting from 0. When you start counting from 0, means 0 to 7, it means it equals 80. That is all for now. For today, I will share the link that covers that explains in details about subnetting, because it's a very relevant topic when it comes to scoping your target.
Very true. Mr. Enock, thank you very much for your time, first of all, for taking through the individuals who have joined this session. It's an honor to have you because the experience that you have in the industry, it's very, very exceptional. So we have various questions for you, which I think you can move forward with them. So the first question is, what about RARP? So I think that was when you were covering the topic of ARPs.
Yes.
Yeah, so the question is, what about RARP?
ARP.
Yeah, but it has R in the beginning. RARP.
Yes.
So I think one of the students wanted to know more about that. I think they know about ARP, but they want to know more about RARP.
ARP, right?
Yes.
Okay. That's a reverse of what ARP is, because ARP, it stands for Reverse Address Resolution Protocol. Initially, when I'm doing ARP, initially I have an IP address I don't have a MAC address. I want to map my IP address to MAC address. That's when I will use ARP protocol. But sometimes you can just find out that you have the MAC address and you don't have the IP address of the device that you want to communicate with. That's when you will use a reverse address resolution protocol, RARP. I think I've covered that question that way.
Yes. The next question is, what about the other octet of hexadecimal letters in the MAC address? What do they represent? I haven't understand there. So that was the question.
Okay. But imagine I'm a company that produces network devices. So I have my own UI that has been registered, right? Let's say this rest three octets of MAC address, they are used for individual devices. Let's say I'm manufacturing 2 million devices. So I need to uniquely identify them. So they will both start with the same OUI, but the letters of the end will be different because I'll be assigning them uniquely to each device that I'm manufacturing.
Okay.
Let's say.
Okay, you may proceed. Sorry, I thought you were done.
Okay. Let's say this is my UI, right? And this bits, this is my OUI. I've manufactured the first device and I've assigned this MAC address. So the second device that I'll be manufacturing will be like this. The third one will be like this. Do you see? Most of these, they do resemble, they have the same OUI, but they are different devices. So you have the flexibility of changing this in accordance to the devices that you are manufacturing. That is all.
Okay. Your next question is, sometimes it happens when you scan for the network using Nmap, I find that the system does not use common ports. Instead, they use high range ports like 8,000 and so on. Maybe he gave an example, FTP will be 1001. I want to know what the idea behind that is.
That's what we call security through what? Obfuscation. The administrator assigned that IP just to confuse you. So what I normally do when I find the IP address that is running on a port that I'm not familiar with, I mean on a port that is not a common port, you try to access that service and see how it responds. Based on how it responds, you may probably know that it is an FTP because it will just respond with an FTP header. Or when it responds with an HTTP header, you'll find that, okay, this, even though it's running a port that is not a common port, since it responded to me this way, it means that it is an HTTP. So administrator want just to confuse you. It is called security through what? Obfuscation. They want to hide the services that they are running.
Okay. How can we know how to use VMware and the commands? That's the next question.
Okay. First of all, VMware is not a command. VMware is just it's a visualization company. It's a company that offers visualization technology. I've run why today you've seen VMware in the picture, because actually I have I'm running Windows and I wanted to run Linux. So I installed Linux into a VMware. So if you are using Windows and that Windows is installed in a VMware, you just run the normal Windows commands. you just also run the Linux normal commands if you've installed Linux in the VMware. You probably need to know the VMware command if you are working in the server industry. You are like you are doing server administration. You are configuring the servers from the scratch. That's only when you will need the VMware command. But otherwise, in cybersecurity, you don't need to understand deeply about the VMware commands.
Perfect. The other question is, when I run the ping yahoo.com, the following happens, which is different from the instructors. It shows the machine ping yahoo.com and then the IP, 56 bytes of data. What I need is why the IP address are different. So what he's saying is, when he was running or scanning what is called the yahoo.com domain,
yes,
was getting a different IP address from the one that you are displaying on your screen. So the candidate wanted to know why is the IP address is different?
Okay, because Yahoo don't save the entire world from just a single server. Obviously, they have multiple servers saving different regions of the world and a different user, because depending on the availability of the resources, and also to enable fast responses to the user that are accessing it. So you probably got a different IP compared to mine, because Yahoo, they don't own just a single IP. They just have a huge block of IP addresses, because they are not running a single, they are not serving the entire world from a single point. They are serving the entire world from a distributed points.
Perfect. The other question is, I haven't understood about the zone transfer.
Okay. Zone transfer is like you have your own DNS that has mappings, mapping of domain names to IP addresses. So when you do a zone transfer, it means that you as a user, you don't own that DNS. Let's say, let me put it on the hacker perspective. Since I'm not owning that DNS server and I want to understand what records that DNS server contains, and I can't log in. Remember that I can't log into that server to be able to read those records. So what I do is I transfer those records to my PC using tools like dig and NS lookup, so that I can be able to view those records. It's like you are downloading the entire list of records to your local computer. So when you are able to download those entire records to your local computer for you to be able to read them, that's what we refer to as a zone transfer. Actually, it's a huge topic. We'll cover it more in a later session, but I think for now I've tried to explain it a bit.
Wonderful. Let me just rush through the questions. Somebody asked, Mr. Enock, how can I change my MAC address in the PC?
Okay. Let me demonstrate that first. We use a tool called MAC Changer, and you can change it either randomly, or if you have a specific IP that you want to change to, you can do that with a tool called MAC Changer. Let me see if it is installed by default. Yeah, as you can see here, let me demonstrate it first. My Ethernet adapter is this. You can see my MAC address here, right? I hope all of you can see it. So I just do sudo MAC changer. Then I do it randomly. Do you see? It denied me because I didn't specify the interface that I want to change the MAC address. So I just say MAC 0. You see, my permanent MAC address is this, and the MAC changer gave me a new MAC of this. So when I do if config, you will notice that this has been assigned as my MAC address. So that's how you change your MAC address on a PC. Also on Windows, you can just edit the connection there, just using a normal graphical user interface. But in Linux, we prefer to use MAC changer.
Thank you. So I haven't really understood this question from sorry, just give me a moment, from Ismail. He said, if TCP is a protocol, why does it have a port number? I think that's what he meant, if I'm not mistaken.
TCP is just a protocol. The port stands for service, and these services they need to communicate with each other. When I say services, they need to communicate. It means I'm transferring data between these services. So to transfer data between these services, maybe services are running on port 80 and port 80 on the other side. So I want to transfer the data between these two services. That's when I will either use a TCP or UDP protocol. So TCP is for transferring data, and our ports. TCP doesn't have a port. First of all, TCP doesn't have a port. But depending on behavior of these ports that are running specific services, you can determine if they are using which kind of protocol in between.
Perfect. Let me see if there's another question. Okay, I don't think there's any other question. Let me just double check. No, there's no any other question. Yeah, there's no any other question. Okay, here's another one. So somebody asked, is the MAC changer tool only for hacking purpose? And I can always restore to the original.
Yeah, you can restore to the original, like I'm doing here. Instead of R, I just use P. I've already restored to my original. Here is my original MAC. That's it, easy like that.
Perfect. Another question from Gabriel. He said, MAC cannot be changed, but you can fake. So if I fake it, I'll stay for how long? So what he's trying to say is, how long will it take for the spoofed MAC address to be on the network until it reverts back to the original MAC address? I think that's the question, if I got it correct.
I think until you reboot your device.
Okay, Gabriel, there's your answer. Any other question, guys, so that we can end the session? And before I start checking for more questions, I just wanted to mention that there are guys who are in the session from Kenya. And so if you're from Kenya, number one, can you please just, in short, let me just share my credentials for Twitter. You can just check me out on my socials so that we can have further discussion on some of the questions or concerns that you guys had. Simply because this bootcamp was mainly intended for Tanzanians to help the capacity building. But since SheHacks was a part of our partners, we had to also accommodate some guys from Kenya to have a good, relation with you guys. So if you have any questions or need any clarifications, you can just check me on my handles. I'm sharing them right now on the chat. Yes, so if you have any questions, please just ask before we can exit and meet till next time.
Okay, thank you, Karim. Thank you, Enoch, for the good session. I would also like to thank each and every participant because you kept the number from 55 to 50 and not less than 50. We really appreciate for your time and your availability. Okay, I see on the comment some of you was noting about starting the session late. We apologize for today because it's the first day and we get a bit of distraction at the beginning, but we are glad everything went well and all of you, and we were able to proceed with the session. So starting from the next session, we'll try our level best to start on time, and also would like you all to join on time so as we won't waste more time and to give the instructor more time to explain or to teach us. Regarding the lecture, okay, the lecture slide will be shared with all of you because you have been registered. So we have all of your emails that will be shared. And for those who didn't register from Kenya, I think Mr. Karim has already explained well on what you can be done, and you'll also get the notes. Okay, from Kenya, you can just visit a Twitter account, K Mchata, or LinkedIn K Khalim H Mchata. You can even check for Hackit Consultant because it is a business page for Hackit.
Okay, so just to add on top of that, let me just share our community email. So you guys can just shoot any questions that you have. If you feel the social media accounts are a little bit too casual. So just give me a second. I can share the Gmail account of the community. And
okay,
then...
Can you also share on the screen so as people could see? Because on the chat, not all can read the chat, but once you share it on the screen, some people will be able to see it.
Okay, just a moment. Let me do that.
In the chat, it has already been updated, hackitcommunity@gmail.com. You can check the email on the chat and save it to somewhere else, because once we close the session, you won't have this chat again.
I've already shared on the screen.
You can copy the email from the chat room and paste it everywhere on your device so as you can store it. Also on the screen, you can see it. That is our community mail. So you can just send anything regarding this bootcamp, or if you have any suggestion regarding the bootcamp, how we can improve, how we can do it next time. In case of any mapungufu, also you can just mention there so as we can improve. We really appreciate, and we will be very happy to hear from you all, guys.
So I'm assuming you guys have already taken screenshots of the email of our community. Some guys asked about the next session. The next session will be introduction to ethical hacking. So that will be the next session, and you guys can prepare yourself on that. So yeah, as Amina has said, you guys can just email us any concerns, and then we will definitely reply. The recordings are going to be kept on the website of the community, and also we'll try our level best to push them onto YouTube on our YouTube channel, which is Hackit Consultancy. It's one word. Let me just type it here so you can also note that. Consultancy. That's the YouTube channel. For the slides, I'll share that on once again on the website of the community. It will be shared, and also for the guys who are in the WhatsApp group, let me put it that way, for the Tanzanian people, you'll also get the slides there. Everything will be communicated. Somebody asked about the website, so sorry, we forgot to share about that one. hackit.com. So that's also the website. Please note all those information down. So if I can also update on the screen. So website will be hackit.com. YouTube will be Hackit Consultancy. That's our YouTube channel. Yeah, there's a lot of materials that you can check on our YouTube. On the website to learn more about cybersecurity and different aspects of hacking, etc. Different topics they're already posted. You can just go through the website and learn more on that. On the YouTube channel, there is some awareness sessions. You can also, share that on the community and learn more about cybersecurity. Yeah, so we're getting a lot of questions that people haven't registered and things like that. So as I said, for guys who are not Tanzanians, you can please just inbox me on Twitter. That's my Twitter handles. And if you don't have Twitter, you can check me out on LinkedIn so that we can have further discussion on this matter. Because as I said initially, the session was really intended for Tanzanians, but later on we just had to, after having further discussion with our partners, we had to open up more doors to people who are outside from Tanzania to also, learn a thing or two about cybersecurity. So those are my handles you can see on the screen. Let me just share this whole thing on the chat once again for everybody, so that you guys can just inbox me. Feel free anytime. I'll respond as fast as possible so that you can get this ball rolling. So guys, feel free before we can end the session and move further. So yeah, once you're all done, you can, I guess, exit. Well, once you've done noting down those critical information about the website, YouTube channel, Twitter, LinkedIn, and the community mail that you guys would want to shoot any question that you have. We're going to give you 2 minutes, and then we're going to end the session here. One minute remaining. Leila, yes, there is a WhatsApp link. So can you please just check me on my handles? We can discuss further because the group was mainly intended for Tanzanians, but yeah, we can have a further discussion on that. So please don't hesitate. Check me on my socials and then we can keep in touch. Sylvia, you're most welcome. Feel free to also get in touch with me anytime. We are all one community generally. So welcome, and I hope you guys will attend the next session next week on Saturday at 7 p.m. East Africa time, where we're gonna learn more about cybersecurity. So the next session will be about introduction to ethical hacking. So yeah, I hope you guys will make it, and then we can, learn from the instructors in general. Latif, thank you very much for the compliment. Guys, once again, if you have noted all this information that I've shared on the screen and on the chat, you may exit. In the next 1 minute, I'm ending the session. So please just make sure you've noted all the important information. So guys, this is it.